Smoke seen for miles as the North Eleuthera government complex smoldered through the day after fire guts the building. Ahead, we've got exclusive video from the disaster and what officials think brought about the blaze.
Also ahead tonight, the fast ferry is stopped. Ahead tonight, why this week's Florida-Bimini commute was put on hold. And one of our national teams has a command performance. The National Report starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Candino Knowles. As always, it's good to have you with us. Topping
the news tonight, a charred shell is all that's left of the administrator's office in North Eleuthera as fire destroyed the complex earlier today, which housed the post office, administrator's office, and magistrate's court.
Jiminita Swain traveled to Eleuthera with local government minister V. Alfred Gray, member of parliament for South Eleuthera Damian Gomez, and fire services director Superintendent Walter Evans as that team assessed the damage.
Fire completely gutted the administrative office here in Upper Bogan, North Eleuthera, Tuesday morning.
I smelled the smoke, right? And I thought it was a bushfire this way, but it was in a bushfire this way. So I run in the back of there, around the building. So when I get around the building, the window around there was full of smoke. Yeah. So I came inside and I called my co-worker, I say, you know something? I said, this building is on fire.
Laura Bullard says the experience was a traumatic one. Senior Deputy Administrator for North Eleuthera District, Jolton Johnson, says the day started off as a typical one.
All I wanted to do was get out of there for, safety reasons, get out of there and not inhale too much of the smoke.
I see.
Thank God that we are all, some of us are doing well.
When we got here, I saw my staff standing on the outside and I asked them what happened. They say they believe it's an electrical problem and they believe that it started in a storeroom that we have here, where we have all the telephone system and the electrical system, and also we had about 6 generators stored in there that we use in the Ark shelters.
At least one employee was treated for smoke inhalation.
We've lost quite a lot because of this fire. This building housed the post office, the administrator's office, the local government office, and nothing or very little from either of those offices were saved. I'm going to go back, report the findings to the cabinet and seek their approval to begin reconstruction within the next several weeks.
Police officials say it was a community effort in working to ensure the blaze did not spread.
We are not ruling out that a possible cause may have been due to an electrical short circuit within this facility.
Shortly after 11, we would have received the initial call that there was a fire at the administrative complex here in Upper Bowl. Originally, the fire appliance for North Eleuthera responded, and we then pulled the additional units from Gregory Town and from Hatchet Bay to provide the additional support.
While fire officials worked to completely extinguish this blaze, Minister Gray says there were no court documents lost in the fire. As for the employees from this building, he says they will be dispersed to other offices throughout the island. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Jiminita Swain.
The first Florida-Bimini commute did not take place as scheduled this week as delays hit the Genting Fast Ferry. We understand that the ferry failed tests by the U.S. Coast Guard for its performance in emergency situations.
Janae Noel Ferguson tells us that the vehicle facilitating travel to and from the new casino in Bimini is working to correct the problems.
Gaming is now big business on the island of Bimini, and a ferry service transporting more than 3,000 passengers between that northern gateway and South Florida will boost the industry even more. But even though the fast ferry got the green light to run, it's still not in operation. Prime Minister Perry Christie says for safety reasons, the vessel has failed to leave Port Everglades.
The Coast Guard had the responsibility of approving the sailing of the ship and that they had not finished with their processing.
The Prime Minister said we really cannot afford to take any chances when it comes to safety. Earlier this year, a cruise liner caught a fire and was stuck in Grand Bahama, inconveniencing thousands of passengers. They complained that their vacation turned into the cruise from hell.
They have to be very careful because you're talking about taking 400,000 people during a course of a year. And so most certainly I would want the most rigorous testing myself, and so even though there is some disappointment that the ship has not yet cruised, the fact of the matter is it is all because, as I understand it, ensuring that safety is the priority.
The new infrastructure, he says, has now poised the island of Bimini for long-term success.
When the story is told, the story has to be told of an island that you can, on the face of it, when you see it, was desperately in need of a major injection, and they've now received that injection. And I think for the way it is now structured, for generation after generation, Bimini is now set.
Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Prime Minister Perry Christie and a delegation left the capital this afternoon to attend the 34th annual CARICOM Heads of Governors meeting in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. The effects of the current economic climate on member states of the Caribbean community and crime are expected to dominate those discussions once working sessions begin on Wednesday. According to Prime Minister Christie, continuing to strengthen ties with member states and the U.S. on crime matters is paramount, especially on the issues of deporting criminals to the region, the smuggling of humans and weapons, and the economy. A review of flood-prone Pinewood Gardens is underway. Prime Minister Perry Christie said that consultants are carrying out the review. The lingering problem with standing water was most recently brought to light during record rainfall in May, which left homeowners having to replace thousands of dollars in merchandise. Now the Prime Minister is hoping to put an end to the problem for good.
It's not that we have relief in sight for places like Pinewood, and that specific area where there is going to be a specific set of recommendations made with respect to Pinewood that we think will be able to relieve this real challenge they have of flooding in there. And we've had people look at it in real microscopically, and in my discussions with them, and most certainly discussions with Kaylis Rowe, the Member of Parliament, that we feel that we are onto something very real, and in a short period of time from now, we'll be able to give indications of the steps we're going to take to bring relief, most certainly specifically in that area.
Well, the Bahamas could be one step closer to taking ownership of the airspace now being managed by the U.S. government. Minister of Transport and Aviation Glenys Hanna-Martin said a committee is being selected to continue talks with the United States government.
The government has just agreed a committee, which is a full Bahamian committee, which will be responsible for negotiating with the United States government, or dialoguing, but not so much negotiation, in discussions with the United States government. And I will be very shortly saying what that committee is, or who that committee is. But we're now poised to begin those discussions in earnest to formalize the current arrangement which deals with the management of airspace.
New Consuls General to Miami and Atlanta could be in place as early as June 10th. Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell, in a statement released today, said the Prime Minister has directed the ministry regarding the posts, and the ministry awaits the necessary approvals.
Now, Minister Mitchell says it is expected that the appointees will be in position in time for overseas independence celebrations. Now, he says a further announcement will be made shortly about changes in personnel in the diplomatic service as soon as the necessary formalities have been concluded. Minister Mitchell declined further comment outside of cabinet on the matter today, but Prime Minister Perry Christie said any hold-up regarding the appointments shouldn't be attributed to the government. He also declined to comment on the placement of former prison superintendent Dr. Elliston Ramming.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs has been advised by my office, and really by me, as to whatever appointments I have to make.
So who would they be awaiting approval from? What, U.S. government, or
I presume if he's waiting on approval, it is the necessary approval from the U.S. government.
And he hasn't spoken on Allison Rami like he said he would. Can you just tell us what's happening with him?
No, I mean, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I think I indicated that around this time, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is scheduled to speak to the issue, and I would want him to do so. I don't want to preempt him.
The Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union lost a battle at the Court of Appeal this morning. The court awarded costs to former presidential candidate David Beckford. The union appealed the order of Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett that elections were to take place in May of 2013 and officers serve out the remainder of their term until the next elections, set for May 2015. The Hotel Workers Union took issue with that and appealed the decision, but the court agreed with Beckford and has therefore awarded him costs.
In our first look at weather, pockets of showers and thunderstorms continue to affect parts of the northwest Bahamas, but outside of our studios just now, we have cloudy skies, temperature 81 degrees, your relative humidity quite rich at 84%, winds out of the south at around 6 knots, your barometric pressure 1,018.4 millibars, that's 30.07 inches, and it is steady. But stay tuned, temperatures around the Palm Islands, travel and boating forecast is still to come.
Well, still to come, the Prime Minister defends a deal review with Bahamar.
And Rotaract meets with the Governor General. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
Over the last 40 years, I've seen quite a number of changes within the Department of Meteorology, having been involved with meteorology since February of 1975. Those changes has brought us to a level where the credibility of meteorology has increased over the last 40 years, so much so that Bahamians now demand a certain level of competency from our forecasters, and that is something that we can boast about in an independent nation. The Department of Meteorology provides a tankless service, and they have been doing that over the last 40 years, something that our country certainly should be proud of. We've also seen some relationship established over the last 40 years between the Department of Meteorology and the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, where we started off with radio broadcasts during the morning hours, and now we are broadcasting now weird television, and that certainly has made a big difference in the way persons view meteorology, because prior to television, meteorology was not taken very seriously. But I can recall back in 2001, during the Hurricane Michelle event, we had numerous calls coming into the newsroom praising us for a job well done in tracking that storm, because it was the first time that a Bahamian meteorologist was seen on television walking in citizenry through a hurricane event. It was a moment that I certainly was very proud of. And on that note, I would like to wish a happy 40th independence anniversary to all Bahamians here and abroad.
This portion of the news is brought to you